And hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This is a video that is over a year in the making, and finally I am proud to present you the GR Corolla Airbox intake kit. Oh yes man, we got there finally. So first of all, why did it take so long from the concept and the engineering concept in 3D to the actual development and to bring this to the market? Well, because we learned a lot, yes, from the GR Yaris launch, and at the beginning we had rushed certain elements, and this time we have took our time to make everything just perfect. We have tested across 7 cars on 2 continents, from Canada all the way to Europe and Poland. And thank you very much, first of all, to Olaf Niehaus and all the friends, both in Canada, and to Michael from Poland that has 2 cars there. They have been so great and supportive. Now, what can I tell you about this Airbox? Before getting into the details of its construction, I would like to talk to you about the material choice, because I see that especially in the North American audience, there is a lot of talk about carbon vs plastics. Okay, so first of all, as you know very well living in this world, not all plastics are the same. You can get very high quality plastics, medium quality, low quality, and then high technology plastics. What we are employing here is an advanced ABS material. This material is the same one that we have already tested and used on our GR Yaris intakes, and it is the same material that Lamborghini uses for their air ducts, bringing cooling air within the engine bay that is extremely hot. Usually, when one thinks of carbon fiber, for example, they think that it has better properties as opposed to plastics or an advanced plastic like the one we are using. But this is questionable. Well, if you think on one side about heat resistance, that was historically a concern with plastics, this is no longer a concern because, for example, this material can withstand the direct contact. So if you take a metal plate at 150 degrees Celsius and you touch it, this will still not destroy the material. It will maybe start to soften a little bit, but it will not lose its shape. So we are talking of a very high heat resistance and resistance in time through the heat cycles. Secondly, and most importantly, is the conductivity. So I'll spare you the deep engineering part of it, but let me tell you that this kind of plastic conduces heat much less than carbon fiber. And it does so, and you can verify this on the product page, but also freely with AI or wherever you wish. There is a difference in conductivity between 2-fold and 40-fold, depending on the quality of carbon fiber that we are looking at. So this will transmit twice or up to 40 times less heat to the air inside than you would have with a carbon fiber airbox. Then, of course, it's not about the looks, but about the performance. When it comes to looks, on the other hand, we like to keep it OEM plus. And there are a lot of features in both our airboxes and in the future models coming out that enable you to open your hood in the car just because you want to, or because there's a control or whatever, and to look as stock as it gets. And this really blends in to the GR Corolla's engine bay. Now, let's come to break down the whole intake piece by piece, and I would like to explain you why this is a full enclosure system and probably the only one that does what we do in the full way on the whole market. Why? Because we go and intercept the airflow from in front of the car. Some of you already using some little adapters for the front that some other tuning company is making that then matches up to the original intake. Yes, we go all the way to the front in this way, and on the other side we reach the MAF sensor and the intake of the engine to the turbo. So this is a fully enclosed system that guarantees no pressure loss in all the directions. And let's see why. So if I take this apart real quick, you will see that this is what we call the S duct, that is the front duct, and this has been built and engineered in order to be installable without bumper removal. So this is a quick install. You remove the radiator cooling plate and you slide this in. And we got the maximum possible dimensions because we have constraints in packaging with a headlight on the side and all of that and various other parts. So what we did is maximized the mouth opening, and then since we had the constraints and we had to become smaller to get through, although we are much larger than the original OEM passage of any kind, what we did is we made the part grow in this direction. So in this way, we have a constant volume of air. So in this way, we don't go and lose pressure. Then we come up, and in this section, we meet the other part of the airbox. And from here is just laminar straight flow through the filter and to the engine. So this is the S duct that has cost us a lot of work and engineering to get right. And this is the first part. And you'll see how many parts there are to this airbox. So let's lay this apart for now. Now we get to the main box. So the main box comes into a duct. This part, although it may look similar to the GI Yaris part, is actually a complete new mold, and its sizes and dimensions are totally different. And we have done many improvements. So let's take it apart real quick, and let's get to one part at a time. And let me remove the included filter from Green Filter with our specifications we'll talk about in just a moment. So this front duct now features also a laser engraved bottom bracket, and we subtracted material and found a way also to add our logo by doing so, just to give it that fun, nice touch. And it's got, for example, foam padding between the assembly as the parts, as we already do on the GI Yaris, that will also be upgraded with these new weight and weight saving and aesthetics improvements, and the smoothest airflow you can imagine. We have also put a lot of work in providing with new latches and designing new latches. And this is the front part of the airbox, and you can recognize it also because of, I don't know if this comes into focus, yeah, of its metal plate in the front. Then we come to the rear. I called it the rear duct, and this has the MAF sensor holder. So this is another very advanced and complicated piece of engineering for many reasons, but to make it clear and quick, this part was built upon the V2 we made for the GI Yaris. And I mean built upon because we further developed the parts, and this is a completely new version with much improved aerodynamics and flow and the latch closing system here. And also we improved greatly the sealing of the filter against the other parts of the airbox, and the filter itself. So the sealing this provides now is absolutely bulletproof, even if you have some other aftermarket air panel filters that do not exactly match the consistency and shape of the OEM part. And we'll get to that when I talk about the filter. So the main difficulty here has been fine-tuning and calculating the volume of air that goes on this side. So this side, everything that is this side of the filter, so engine side, has to be very, very carefully streamlined and calculated, because it has a great impact on engine transient response. So what happens when you put your foot back down on the accelerator? And we have worked and improved. We've been improving this for the last 2 years, basically. And one of the main challenges here was to come from the square shape of the OEM air filter to a round, completely seamless shape that could favor airflow. So we went and constructed and tested and tried and reconstructed various radiuses, and what we achieved, of course, I had to make different molds and it was very expensive, but what we achieved I am so proud of. I mean, there is nothing like this out there. Now we come to the inner part. Now, as you can see, maybe not a lot of light, but I'll do my best. There you go. So the actual MAF holder is a totally different component that is then bonded to this rear duct. And this also is new in the sense that it's an evolution of what we've been using. And this we are using crossways between the GR Corolla and the GR Yaris. We added some very cool, nice to have features. For example, this little bracket is where you can put in your OEM cables. The wiring loom that comes out of the MAF sensor has a little insert for the bracket that is present on the OEM system. So even when you install our part, everything goes back into perfect OEM position like no other. And inside, the actual dimensions, and even we have reconstructed the fin that is inside of the MAF holder, and the dimensions needed to be so precise that we continue with great expense to build this piece in industrial HP multi-jet fusion technology through a third-party supplier that has these industrial printers that cost over $500,000 each. And this part is very expensive still, but we continue and we will continue making it with this technology because it's the only way, in our advice, to get the perfect match scaling of the MAF sensor 1-to-1. Nothing easier and nothing more difficult also to obtain when you need the dimensions that are to a decimal of the millimeter. Small little improvements on the sealing and fitting of the MAF sensor, and we've just got it nailed now. And this part also, as I was referring to before, of the latches has been completely redesigned with the new mold, so now it's much more resistant and it gets a better sealing to the filter and the two parts of the airbox, and it's snug and nothing is moving at all. Now this brings me to the air filter. So let's move these two parts here so we have them in front of us. The air filter that is made to our design, there you go, as you see it's laser engraved Piras Motorsport by Green Filter Europe. So differently from what you can get in other lesser products out there, when you receive our Airbox now included, you get this panel filter that is designed to the exact measurements of the GR Yaris and GR Corolla original filtering element, but it has much superior filtering and performance features. To our specification, this is a double layer cotton filter that uses the same material and thickness than is used by the main French OEM manufacturers in their pro teams at Le Mans and in the likes of Rally with their Rally 2 cars in the World Rally Championship. We could have gone with a 3-layer, but 2-layer enabled us to have over 91% of filtering efficiency and still have power drop loss, as opposed to not having the filter that is almost not measurable. So we've got all the performance we want. And a special note also, extensive testing has been done for how these filters are oiled from the factory. So there is no problem whatsoever with the MAF sensor. The only note is be careful when you do replace the oil, when after a year or two you decide to clean your filter and wash it and then re-oil it. Please be scarce with the application of oil, because it only needs a very thin coat to work well. And this is the included air filter, so not some Chinese stuff, made in France to the top spec motorsport quality. Of course, a kit like this, of this dimension, size, and complication, could not be complete if the engine bay weren't be completed. And since we have to remove the radiator cooling plate, we had to provide for a totally new cooling plate that is divided in 2 parts for the only sake of shipping. And this is the whole cooling plate, and it looks exactly like OEM, apart from the left section. The left section is the reason why we had to build this cooling plate. The cooling plate enables you to have a flow of this dimension that is about 6 or 7 times the flow you can get with the OEM snorkel and all the airboxes. Go and have a look, that still use the OEM cooling plate, or that use a different cooling plate but do not use an S-duct in the front to, in an enclosed way, purchase the air from the slipstream in front of the car. So this also was a huge work. And look at this, it's just beautiful, and it looks so OEM plus. And it's been a huge challenge from the engineering standpoint, because we have done so much testing on all the cars to get the maximum size we could get within the clearance of the hood closing. Yes, because if you're talking about here, you already have a huge clearance within the hood because of how the geometries are. But in this area, the clearance is minimal. So also upon installation, you will have to check it, because depending on how your car was set up with the bump stops at the end of the hood, engine hood closing, you could have between 0 and 8 millimeters of clearance. So if you see that you have 0, you just have to give 1 turn to the end stops and just give it that 2 millimeters of clearance. But this is as big as we could engineer it and factor this in, because we needed to have all the airflow mass that was possible to get in. One slipstream that goes in a laminar flow through a 90-degree bend to an air filter, that is the OEM one. So if you prefer the paper OEM well that filters at the highest property, you can have that in a trade-off of a bit of top-end power, but that and torque, and that can be fine also. And then straight through the most streamlined and precise MAF holder rear duct right into your engine. I was saying before that it's very important of how much air volume you have on this side, because of course we built here an intake that will work on a stock car, but it will also work on cars that are pushing in excess of 550 brake horsepower. But referencing to standard and hybrid turbos, this is the best way to go. Because if you put too much volume on this side, what happens is the turbo needs to rotate much quicker in order to move enough air to get the same airspeed, therefore the same airflow. And this is the difference that there is, because everything that comes here, the less airspeed there is, the more resistance the system will have to suck the air in through the filter, and the more resistance the system will have when air is released by the dump valve and coming back up to get back out through the filter and fill the volume of the main box. So this is what it is. Performance-wise, from our independent testing, not independent, our proprietary testing, and we have tested a lot of airboxes, there is nothing like it, both on dyno and on a butt dyno, especially in engine response. There is just nothing like it. I would say that you're looking at, on a stock car with zero modifications, around 6 to 7, 8 horsepower, depending on how your specific car reacts and the fuel. And while tuning and going through the stages, stage 2, stage 3, you can have a delta of in excess of 20 horsepower, depending on what the state of tune, what turbo you're using, and all of that. So this is a massive, massive improvement. And once again, do not underline and do not forget the fact that how the engine responds to throttle inputs is very important. So the lag you will have with this intake system is minimal, and surely the lowest that there is of any product out there. So this is it. In the next days, a great shout out for Cameron from CarQuicks in USA that is going to make his own review. The Airbox is already on track to go to him, and I am talking to various distributors to find a distribution channel or more than one in North America in order for you to be able to find this in your shops. And this is going to be another very good thing. And lastly but not least, we have decided to lower the launch price from what initially expected, because as you see, there's a lot of engineering and a lot of parts I haven't even showed you. For example, the beautiful brackets that go and connect the S duct to the main duct. A lot of engineering and a lot of parts, very big kit. So we decided anyways to lower the price to €845 plus tax to help with all the tariffs that are currently on in North America, since this product was mainly, let's say, oriented to North American customers. So here it is. So if you like this, please subscribe for more, because, for example, in the next days, I'm going to talk to you of the new brake cooling kit for the GR Corolla that is already available and in the warehouse ready to ship. The airboxes are also available and ready to ship. So get yours on, because I think that the first batch is going to go very, very quickly. I'm here to reply to any questions. If you like this, please subscribe, like it, and let's see you online. Cheers.